It's great to once again have a complex parable of Jesus this morning, one that can be understood in numerous ways based on the person who is telling the story, how they explain it, what they tend to highlight, their ultimate understanding. And Matthew's understanding of the story seems to be in favor of using your talent, you want to play with the word, in a way that is fruitful, that is fulfilling of life, and is abundant. You can suggest that the first two slaves of the story use their talents throughout their lives to multiply, to uh, produce great results. The one with the most talent, 5, ultimately doubles it, so ends up with the most. And when the master comes back, says, "Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You've been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master." But surprisingly, that is the exact same response as the person with 2 talents. One might suggest that it's not how much talent you have, but that you use it abundantly. And we're talking talent here. We're not really talking money, right? Then there is the third. The third, in Matthew's version of the story, seems to squander what is given to him. He buries it out of fear. And then he can give it back at the end, unharmed. To which the master replies, "Oh, you wasted it. You wasted the opportunity." Now, I can see what Matthew's trying to get at. Probably telling those who would hear his version of Jesus' story to live abundantly, live with everything that you have great production in a way that gives life, and you'll be rewarded. That seems to be what Matthew is going for. And in fact, using the phrase at the end that Matthew uses, which comes right out of Mark's gospel in an earlier moment, not related to this story, but is that for all who have, more will be given, they'll have an abundance, but those who have nothing, even what they have, will be taken away. As suggests that fear, holding, grasping onto something, leads to losing it, whereas living abundantly gives life. That is a fair way to interpret the parable. Even though, honestly, it doesn't make God look very good if the master is God, especially in the way the third person is ultimately thrown into outer darkness. That fits Matthew's vision of things, but it doesn't really sound like Jesus. And that leads me to a second way of understanding the story. And I want to remind you is that Jesus was a very talented storyteller. And talented storytellers change the details of their story for context. Who's listening? What's going on around them? What might they ultimately hear in the story that will give life not just to them, but to everyone? So what if it is the third slave, the one who ends in outer darkness, as the real hero of the story? Now, I'm not saying this is the only way to hear it, but walk with me for a moment. The beginning of the story says that the man going on a journey summons his slaves and entrusted his property to them. To one he gives 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Now let's call these talents what they are in the story. It's money, and it's a lot of money. One talent is about 6,000 silver coins, which is about 20 years' wages for the average worker. So we're talking huge sums of money. And he entrusts to them according to their ability. What ability is he referring to? The ability to do good? The ability to be honest? Or the ability to make more money? How does one make money in the first century? How does one turn a huge sum of money into an even huger sum of money? Doubles it. Crazy money. Well, I guess it's possible with a lot of training and trading and smart, lucky moves. You can make a lot of money, but this much? I have to believe ability here involves manipulation to a certain point, not really caring what happens to the other person. You take advantage of them, it's fine. After all, it's about making money. And these two, at the reckoning, are not asked, did you make your money in a just way that helped other people in addition to helping my coffers? None of that seems to be important. The only thing that matters is the bottom line. They doubled their money, they get praised. Which leads me to the third person in the story, the one who had received one talent. He comes forward saying, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. Now, what is this third person afraid of? Are they afraid of losing the money? I don't think this person is afraid or giving in to fear, because he's telling an uncomfortable truth to the master. You're harsh. You reap where you don't sow. You gather where you didn't scatter seed. You make money unjustly on the backs of others. And I won't participate in it. I didn't have the guts to tell you that at first, but I am now. Here, take what is yours. And the consequences, of course, are devastating. He's thrown in outer darkness. His resources are taken away. One of the hints for me to go this direction is the master saying, now you could have invested my money with bankers and made interest. But of course, any person who's hearing this story knows that in Judaism, lending with interest isn't allowed. It's a manipulation. It's a taking advantage of other people for the sake of someone's profit. The third person refuses to benefit in this way, even if it would ultimately enrich him. He stands up to truth. He stands up against power. He's the hero. He reflects in many ways what Jesus did with his life, standing up to power, even though it cost him his life. The ultimate promise in these stories is not that everything will work out. It is not that those who stand with integrity will be rewarded. In fact, some will end up in darkness. But what is the hope of God? What does it mean to live into God's image, loving neighbor as self? I have to believe that this story points us to a way of living not solely for ourselves, but for one another. Kindness, truth, justice, peace. Thanks be to God.